What's happening, folks? Welcome to today's show, Scott and Matt Podcast. I'm Matt Horwitz. You can find me over at breakthefear.com.
I'm Scott Brills. You can find me at scottbrills.com, Brills.
Double LS. Scott, what's happening, man? Haven't seen you a bit. Welcome back to the USA.
Thank you. Just got back from 5 weeks in Europe, 5 productive weeks.
I feel like every other show, Scott's like, I just got back from. So
I think that's been a pretty running theme, for every single show, and that's because it's always true. I'm always traveling somewhere.
And I think it's only going to increase from here. I got a big trip coming up in about 18 months, so we'll be different. It'll become.
Don't worry, I'll keep everyone entertained in those 18 months, and I'll do enough traveling, and then you can take over.
I'm gonna jump off the show. So today, let's go ahead and let's jump into your trip. I know the last time, like maybe 2 or 3 shows ago, you spent some time in Mexico doing some networking with some like-minded people, but you were just over in Europe. So fill me in on the details. What were you up to?
Yeah, it was kind of an extension to Mexico, as in a few of the people that were there, 4 of the people that were there, 5 actually, joined together in Berlin. We rented a house in downtown Berlin.
How many people?
There was a running total of anywhere between like 5 and 8 or 9 people. They were just kind of coming in and out. Some people couldn't be there for the whole 2 weeks, and some people were there. And we were there to celebrate our buddy Dan's 40th birthday, and he'd been celebrating all month, and this is kind of the culmination of it. So we figured we're going to go to Berlin for 2 weeks, and we're going to have a bunch of parties. We're going to invite some people over from the local entrepreneur scene and kind of get to know them. And then we would culminate in a tour/city a day in the Netherlands. So we'd go 3 days, 3 separate tours, or 3 separate concerts. And then we'd fly from there the same day that the last one ends. We'd fly from there to Oslo to go to Chris Guillebeau's End of the World party, where he's visiting all 194 countries.
Yeah, and we got to stop right there. We got to touch on the Chris Guillebeau thing for a little bit, because when I first came across his stuff, I was always interested in travel, but seeing somebody, and he's under the age of 40.
Yeah,
right?
So he just turned 35. The day he turned 35 was his last country, which is Norway.
So here's a man out there who's been to more than every country in the world, because there's only 193, 194 countries according to the United Nations. Mm-hmm. But then there's all these like provinces and little islands and republics and these other different jurisdictions, kind of.
Yeah, Somaliland, Transnistria, Sealand.
That's pretty sick. It's pretty sick that he did it by age 35. So you went to the End of the World party over in Europe. He threw it, right?
He threw it. Yep. He threw it for everyone. We all bought tickets to kind of help out, but there was an open bar. There's about 100 people there from all over the world. I even met some other people from Detroit. My buddy Manish Sethi was DJing that night, and it was a good time. Man. Yeah,
I told you when I saw him on stage talking in Italian, I was like, man, that guy's got skills. So
I know Manish. He's a Wunderkind, as they say in German. Germany. So like we hung out for a few more days after that, and then we all kind of went our separate ways. I went off to Bergen to visit a friend, and then I met up with Manish in Stockholm. Then I went back to Berlin for the Dynamite Circle meetup. I've mentioned that a few times before. It's kind of a group of mostly location independent online entrepreneurs, and so I met a bunch more awesome people there, and then came home after 5 weeks. Just got back a few days ago.
Awesome. What do you usually do when you get back after long trips? How do you adapt pretty quickly now? I guess you're used to it.
Yeah, I work my ass off. at least I say I'm going to, but it doesn't always work out that way. When the week before I leave and the week after I get back from somewhere is always pretty crazy. I'm always like rushing to try to get things done, and then rushing to try to get back to things to catch up on things I've missed, because I'm generally not at my peak productivity when I'm traveling. Some other things tend to distract me. So
whenever I travel, I tend to. Did I tell you about the cruise I'm taking to Mexico next month?
No, I didn't hear that.
Yeah, I'll have to. Anyway, like it flowed so quickly. Somebody, friend of mine, like reached out. We were just shooting some emails back and forth, and she was talking about possibly coming down. Like South Florida area. I was like, I got a guest bedroom that was open, since I'm not doing Airbnb anymore because I got busted, so to say, by the landlords. One of the neighbors complained that there were all these people coming in and out with suitcases all the time.
Random vagrants.
Yeah, we'll talk about that in a bit. Anyway, so I was like, come down. You can use my guest bedroom. And then like a couple days later, she's like, yo, do you want to go on like, do you want to go? She's like, she's all about adventure, just whatever, off the whim, taking some stuff. So, or taking adventures on the whim. And she's like, do you want to go on this cruise? I was like, yeah, sure. Like, I was like, it's good. I need a little vacation. I've been working a lot. And then a couple emails back, like after I sent her my information, like on my passport, so she could like lock down the reservations. I was like, oh, just let me know the price. I'll PayPal you the money. And then ends up, she's like, don't even worry about it. Like, I was like, what do you mean, don't worry about it? She's like, yeah, I got some points. Like, just go with it, roll with it. So I'm like, okay, cool. Wow. So that just kind of came up out of nowhere. So I'm taking a week off in about a month, which will be nice because the last time that we talked, because I could no longer do Airbnb, I lost about $1,000 a month income stream. And I enjoyed hanging out with the cool people, but it's funny we'll jump back into the entrepreneur house stuff. But my productivity, I don't know what has happened, Scott, to be honest with you. I thought it was like a fluke the first week. Now it's like 3.5, 4 weeks into it. And the biggest thing for me is like I usually don't do things usually. Like it's usually different. I just said usually way too many times. It's different all the time. But typically in the past, I have a lot of trouble waking up in the morning. Like I'll set my alarm for 8:30, but then I go to bed at like 2:30, 3 o'clock, and I'll snooze until like 10 or something. But I don't know.
Snooze until 10. Geez, wow, that's waking up early for me.
So it's weird. I'll tell you what, it's so funny. Like as humans, we always have to try to put a reason to something happening. I don't know why this has happened, but so I don't have the other room rented out. So I now sleep with my doors open. And instead of me like having to usually close my doors to be quiet and kind of like be working in like the cage a little bit, I can kind of take up space all around the house, which is a little nicer. And because last month I got hit with so I lost that within like a few days. I lost the $1,000 a month Airbnb income. I got hit with $1,000 tax bill, and I had to go to the dentist, which was like $960. Then when I went to the dentist, like while he's drilling out my other teeth, here's the point of sale. He's like, well, while I'm in here, I noticed that like basically he sold me on 2 other teeth while I was already like numb with Novocaine.
You got the upsell.
I got the upsell, but he was good. I believe he was an honest person because the next time I went in and I had to go in again, he did some other teeth for me and didn't charge me for it. So I was like, all right, wow, cool. And
what about the image thing that I was reading about too on your site?
Which image?
The whole image like using without permission, like web image thing.
Oh yeah.
Whatever happened with that?
I got a letter from I'm not going to mention the company name that was like, you're using this one image without authorization on your website. It was like one of like 800, almost $900. And I did some research and I found out that pretty much it's not really technically a lawsuit. They haven't filed suit. Rather, it's just it's a scare tactic. Like the letter sounds really scary. I did a bunch of research. I read what some lawyers said. There's a lot of people that talk about it out online. And I think with everything, if you dig far enough and you're determined to get an answer, I got a pretty good one. So a lot of people just write back and kind of just say, hey, provide. I pretty much wrote back and like, it's kind of funny. Like when you're writing legal letters, like you want to, you say one thing, but you're applying this, but this is a little subtle, Yeah. Like I pretty much was like, I requested that they send me like, please send me proof that you guys are actually the copyright holders from the US. Like I used some fancy wording and stuff from some statute and all this crap. And I was like, once you forward this information, we'll address the matters then. Like, then I just put like my company address or something.
And then did you take it down? Did you stop using the image?
I took, so this is where the implying stuff came in. I took it all down at the very end. I said, the image in question has since been removed from our servers. Like, just leaving it like real clean. It was just like a 3-paragraph thing. I've seen other people where they write like this whole 1.5 page thing. Like you guys are like acted like, they start to yell at them, but like so pretty much what it comes down to in terms of like in law, there is the law, but then there's also the reality. And even though the law applies, you can't enforce the law unless you sue. And a lot of people aren't willing to go ahead and sue unless it's worth it. So for $800, a company that was recently bought for $2 billion, it's pretty much, for the most part, it's a scare tactic. They got some sharp paralegals that probably work in that department. And if it escalates, I'll take it kind of one step at a time. So that's that. I'll talk about my productivity stuff in a bit with the diet, but let's jump back over to you. So wait, where was I going? Or no,
So yeah,
that was part of my
the
story, though,
entrepreneur
wasn't
house,
it?
right? I was kind of bringing up the Berlin trip, not just to impress everyone with my travels, but just to kind of say that
No, but you travel for a purpose. Like you do when you go on adventures, you push yourself to new experiences and you want to see new things. But you also go like you don't go to like get drunk at the bar and
well, partially that's what we did for the first 14 days, but
no, but you meet
like
other people out there who are like-minded people.
I made some amazing connections this time around, and I'm like I was talking with Chris Gillibo's book agent, and I learned a lot from him, and I met a lot of people that are in pretty well with with people like Chris Gillibo, the people like Tim Ferriss that are really doing awesome things. People that I would love to emulate at some point, and so that was a big takeaway from it. Also, I wanted to mention that the whole thing about how when you had all this adversity come at you, how you were able to kind of go above and beyond what you'd been able to before, and so just that necessity it drives you. And we were talking a lot about that. When we were in Berlin, you've got these 5 or 8 guys together, and we all kind of do similar things, internet, online entrepreneurs. And so we have a lot of the same things that we think about, same issues. And so we kind of naturally talk about things like that. And we were talking about that. Like we said, you get to a point where you kind of get lazy because you're comfortable. And, a lot of times you don't feel like you're really, out there using 100% of your ability, just because as soon as you got enough money coming in to support you, and you're able to do the things you want to do, buy the things that you need, then you're able to relax and you you don't try as hard at that point. And so we were just talking a lot. We're like, we have to like find some way to even artificially put ourselves in that kind of mindset, and maybe that'll help us overcome the procrastination and just the general laziness that we sometimes face.
Definitely.
And then the other thing was we really love that format. Like you mentioned, I was in Mexico for a while in February with a bunch of entrepreneurs, and then we did it again in Berlin. We keep saying like, wouldn't it be a great idea if we could kind of get a mansion somewhere, a la the novel The Game, where they rent a big mansion in Beverly Hills, and they teach people to be pickup artists. But we could do that with entrepreneurs, and you have a place where people live and where people talk to each other and work together. And I thought that would be really cool. You could have like a 1-month stint, or you could have option to kind of renew it. And I know there's already some places out there doing that in places like Mexico or Bali. There's
probably
an
not enough
house.
Though. You could have hundreds of thousands of these. There's
and there's a place in Boulder that is doing exactly that, and their mission is to aim to expand it out to other cities because it's been going so well for them. And so a few of us have been talking about doing it. I think we just really need someone to actually kind of take charge and run with it. But of course, we're all busy doing our own things.
Yeah, you definitely need like a managerial.
Yeah, I mean, like this would be going
like a property manager.
Yeah,
kind of person.
Right. You know something about that, right? So this would actually be going as far as finding like a kind of a tier 2 city, tier 3 city that is interested in growth, interested in young people coming in, entrepreneurs coming in,
I like that.
Talking with the city council, getting them involved in it, helping them find a place that's low cost or free. And then in return, we give a lot of publicity through each of our individual channels. And then also we make a project out of it. We film it. So basically we just get a lot of interest in it. Places like Missoula or Fargo, places like that. Just like
where are both they've done it places?
Exactly. Yeah. Like
I have no idea where that is.
Like Omaha and Kansas City have done it. Kansas City with Google Wire, and then Omaha has been doing a lot of things to attract entrepreneurs. And it's tough. It's a tough sell because people don't think of Omaha as the natural place for entrepreneurs. They don't think of it as having a great nightlife and a lot of networking possibilities. So we're looking for places like that maybe haven't done something like that, but are looking for it. And they want a lot of smart, talented people to come in and shed a light on what the community has to offer. So it's a big project. It's not something that we would take lightly. And so that's why we haven't really been the quickest to move on it. But I think it's a great idea.
It sounds like it's unfolding. Yeah, I told you from about 2006 to 2010 or 11 or 2005 even, I lived over the course of about 5 years, more or less. I lived with 31 different people. Jumped on a lease with a couple of people about a year and a half later. This was for a 7-bedroom place located just outside of a university up in the Northeast United States, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. I love how we just had to like mention regions of a country first. And then like it's good too. It's like I think a lot of people out there just that's why I mention like Celsius and Fahrenheit and kilometers and meters. A lot of people are just like they just mention a city name like everyone knows about it. But I'm sure we got people listening from all over. So anyway, I took over the lease, negotiated the rent down, and then I subleased these 6 bedrooms. And at some point it really tuned in my intuition with meeting people like, wow, is this, just off a handshake and a quick conversation, like, does this person fit into this, community? But it ended up turning into a really, there was a core group of guys. It was a co-ed house, and it was people from different ethnicities, different backgrounds. The age range at one point was like 20 to 41. So it was like a really cool, wow. And everybody was like, one guy was going after being an Olympic boxer. He's now doing some other things athletically. One of my buddies was in dental school. One of my buddies was already a medical doctor. Like he was coming home being like, oh yeah, I cut open someone's rib cage today. And, so another guy was from Poland, and it was like 31 people, but especially towards the second half, it became a really positive. We had this big chalkboard in the living room that was painted one year with chalkboard paint. And like at one point, like you saw like 5 or 6 people's names, and it was like, I'm doing like, this was my goal. This was my goal. This was my goal. This was my goal. One of my buddies, one of his goals at the time was he wanted to buy a house before his 20th birthday. Still one of like a very, one of the younger guys I know, but one of the more mature guys I know. So he actually, that was his goal. One of my friends had a goal to like bench 260 or bench like 230 pounds by like this date, and someone was doing this. So it was cool because I think when you bring a lot of the same energy, like you said, feed off each other's energy, people have some same goals. And it's nice too because you also have like you can focus in on your work if you need to. You can be antisocial if you want, but if you want to be social, the party's just like the gathering's just in the kitchen. So it was definitely a really positive influence, and I think it's always good to think about living environments and social circles and stuff like that. I think is important. So cool. And what do we got next on the list? We were talking about I told Scott earlier spending money on laundry and that stuff. So Scott and I were talking before the show, and it was like, we should just mention the shirts. Scott and I talked on Skype yesterday. I don't even know if you guys will find this as funny as we do, but anyway, we jump on Skype today, and I'm like, I look at Scott's shirt, and I'm like, and then I'm thinking to myself, Scott, you were wearing that shirt yesterday, weren't you? And he's like, yeah. And I was like, I was wearing this shirt yesterday too. And we just start laughing, and he's like, and I told him, I think when you understand your values and you understand what you're doing in life, you spend money in areas that are important to you, and other things you like. For me, I wouldn't call it a cheap ass, but I'm definitely frugal. So what I do is like, if I don't sweat a lot, I'll sometimes wear the same t-shirt. I'll sometimes wear the same gym shorts. I'll even wear the same pair of socks twice in a row, because where I live right now, I don't have a laundry facility, so I have to go to a laundromat. So not only does it like waste 2 hours of my day, but I'm also a cheap ass with my laundry, and I only go on Wednesdays and Thursdays when the washers are half price. And I try to go, like, instead of going every week, I try to make my clothes last me longer, so I don't have to go every 2 or 3 weeks.
And contrary to Matt, I'm not a cheap ass. I'm very clean, and I'm just trying to rep my buddies at Mango. If you're checking out the video, I'm holding up Mango Languages, one of the best ways to learn languages online.
Nice plug.
I'm just trying to help my friends out. That's why I keep wearing the same shirt over and over.
I see. Yeah. The reason why I wore this shirt is because I wore it yesterday, and I was like, oh wow, I look good in white. This is my only white shirt. We're gonna record tomorrow. I'll wear it again tomorrow. But the funny thing is like, to me, it's important to save that $20 or $30 a month on my laundry. And although that seems small, there's some other areas where I'm really frugal. But I was telling Scott, like, I'm negotiating a domain purchase right now for upward, like, somewhere between $12,000 and $15,000. And it's funny because someone might call me a cheap ass, but when I know where my money will take me and what things are important, I got no issue in making an investment in something. Whereas, I haven't bought new clothes in a long time. I have one pair of running shoes, one pair of dress shoes, one pair of sandals. and I have a little pair of Vibrams that I don't even wear anymore. I got literally like 3 pairs of shoes that I wear.
Why aren't you wearing the Vibrams anymore? I love the Vibrams.
It hurt my feet when I walk now. I don't know. They're getting. I think it's ripping. So I had a running injury that I'm not sure if it was from it, but at one point my calves did get pretty huge, and I have a buddy who can run marathons in Vibrams. So, but I think everyone
whenever I run, I usually do like 6 miles in them. I love them. Like,
it's pretty good.
Without them, I wouldn't be able to do that.
That's pretty impressive. Impressive. What kind of things do you, like? It's funny. You'll make an investment in probably travel, your business, your own development.
In myself.
In yourself. In many different ways.
In travel, any tech I need to do, gadgets, work or travel. That will eventually make me money. So I'm basically just investing in myself. When it comes down to it, I'm just investing in myself. Through travel, it's for myself. In business, it's for myself. In gadgets, it's for myself. It all comes down to you're investing in yourself. And through that, you'll be happier, you'll make more money. And so,
it's an investment into the lifestyle that you eventually, that you're living and creating in the same time. What kind of tricks do you have for saving money? What do you do?
I travel.
You do laundry regularly, and that so tell people who don't think that they can save money traveling. How do you save money when you travel?
I save money traveling. Yeah, if I'm here, if I'm at home, I have social obligations. I meet people for drinks, for food, and I'll generally end up going out like 4 or 5 nights a week. On average, and
wow,
that's not cheap to do in the U.S. because you figure every time you're going out, you could be spending upwards of $50, even more than that, dollars a night, and then of course you got the gas. I'm a ways away from downtown Detroit, but I go there all the time, and so it's like an hour drive every single time I go down there, and I might be down there like 3 times a week.
You're talking $1,500, $1,500 a month in just social costs.
Easy. Yeah. And so, you've got the gas, you've got the car insurance, you've got food and drink. And I'd say that's the majority of my costs. You've got cell phone payments and things like that. Well, you don't have any of that when you're traveling, especially in somewhere cheap like Southeast Asia. You do have the food and the drink, and that's really the only thing I'll spend money on because if I fly for free using airline miles.
I'm a cheap ass. I go to the grocery store when I travel.
We did a bit of that. So in Berlin when we were going to be there for a while and we had a full kitchen, we were doing that. We're eating goat cheese spread and lox on pretzel rolls every morning. It was good. That was our breakfast every morning. And it was all organic because it's Europe and they've got they call it bio, BIO, marts everywhere. And so we were able to go there every morning and just buy food for everyone, save a lot of money. But places like Norway, it was ridiculous. We were spending $100 every time we want to go to dinner. Yeah. $12 to $20 a drink, $100 if you include a couple drinks, just for dinner and also. So most places I go to aren't that expensive. I'd say Norway and Japan are a little bit out of the normal. But if you go to Thailand, which I've been going to every year, and you can survive on just a few bucks a day. Plus, if you're not staying at a friend's place, maybe you'll be getting a bungalow for $15, $20 a night. It's a lot cheaper than living here. And if you don't have rent to pay, which is really nice, and you can put all that money into travel. But yeah, I think that when I was gone for 5 months last year in Africa, I came back, I had more money in my bank account than I had ever had before because I was 5 months. And Africa is not there's some places that are cheaper than others. Northern Africa is pretty inexpensive. Yeah. Whereas Kenya, Tanzania, it's more first world prices. It can get a little bit expensive just as far as it costs about as much as the U.S. in some places.
I think what's good is you had your lodging taken care of. You guys were pretty much, for the most part, you were staying at different places, but you did camp in your on the roofs of you had tents built up on the roofs of your car.
Yeah, if we needed a shower, we would always stay somewhere. But we'd end up spending sometimes $10, $15 a person on lodging.
Did you have one pair of socks the whole time or something? What happened to that story?
Well, all my stuff got stolen the first night in Africa, but so I was left with one pair of socks and not much other clothes. But I made it.
You beat me so much on the laundry thing, man. That makes it sound like nothing.
I wore sandals a lot of the time, and then when I needed socks, I'd rinse them in the sink every night. With just a little bit of hand soap, I'd rinse them. They'd be dry by the morning, and I was able to make it. 3 months throughout Africa, moving almost every day with just one pair of socks, no problem. One pair of socks is 3 pairs of underwear, 3 t-shirts, 2 pairs of shorts, 1 pair of jeans, 1 windbreaker, a hat, and like it doesn't sound like much for months and months.
Most people
traveling.
wear that in one day.
Yeah, right. But I found I was able to do it. And so like that really made me rethink minimalism. I thought I was minimalist before that. And then I'm like, wow, you really don't need much.
Right. And I think, like you said earlier, which was kind of how I reacted to the Airbnb thing getting shut down. Like, I wasn't just okay with it right away. I think I wrote a blog post, or like I wrote about it, which helped me kind of process it and deal with the fact that this is now the reality. And I think that, we were talking about that before, on your trip. It's like, your stuff you can't do, like, when shit happens in life, which it inevitably just always does. Stuff just happens. Nothing is exactly the way we think it's going to go. There's always bumps on the road.
You find that in Africa. You find lots of bumps on the road. You find that things don't go the way as you planned.
Yeah, but the only thing you can do doesn't even matter whether you're an entrepreneur or not. If you're a human being, the sooner that you can deal with reality, like if you can't change something, if it's outside of your control, I'm not saying give in to stuff that happens if you can change it, but change things if you can. If you can't, you got to deal with it and then kind of work around it, be creative. I think the adaptability is a pretty good trait to be as a human. Doesn't matter what you're doing, being adaptive.
Yeah, if there's one superpower I could say that I have, it'd be adaptability. Like I can honestly say I'm good at adapting no matter where I'm at or who I'm with. Like I can usually adapt to fit the situation. Yeah.
That's why I think adventure travel is good. When you throw yourself out there on the path, you really have to become adaptability, creativeness, which kind of are similar in this context, and I think problem solving too, or maybe attitude and problem. Well, there's probably lots of things actually, but it's not just problem solving, but like when things happen, what's your attitude on the situation, and then depending on your attitude, how quickly can you go ahead and solve the problem? Maybe it's not going to happen the way that you wanted it to with A, but you might find version F actually works better given these circumstances. And I think those traits are pretty good ways to just operate in the world.
If you have your car window smashed and your car's undrivable and you just had all of your clothing stolen, do you mourn the loss of your possessions, or do you go like, okay, what are the next steps we have to take to solve this situation?
Yeah, no, definitely, it's makes sense. So I was mentioning to you earlier, we talked about this last time, breaking up with. We can just call this ending relationships that don't align with your values is pretty much what it is. Yeah. But I have a web client who I actually was on a 3-way Skype call this morning for like 2 hours. It was a great call. Like, and I was, I was telling them all kinds of like, web. We were going really micro into how they can make certain images clickable, how to make things in Photoshop, and then I was going real macro and telling them about conversions and flow and all this stuff. And like, but then. After the call, I realized I kind of bit off more than I could chew on this project, and I have my energy tied up in my own projects and too many other things. I didn't want to manage this guy's e-commerce platform, building 2 different installations of a website, and I was like, damn. So like my gut feeling was like, I got to break up with this dude. I got to tell him the truth. Like I can't, and I think it's really easy in life to like, you meet someone, you get excited, and you're like, yeah, let's go. We'll do this.
Your first instinct say yes. Yeah. I want to help you out, and you want to say yes. Yeah.
And then you end up like going in, and I think most people don't say anything, and they just end up, what ends up happening is the situation just worsens and worsens and worsens, and then you just feel so bad that you just avoid it altogether. Like there's not really an official conversation about it. People just kind of, part ways. It's like the thing you see in web development, like my old web developer, I just can't get a hold of him anymore. Like I think you just hear that all the time. So I knew that I probably wouldn't even be able to focus that much on our call today. And, I was like, damn, I trusted my gut reaction. I was like, I can't take on this project. It's too much. And it would also make him too dependent on me long term. I also told them like I travel in a bit, I can't manage this, but his project was so big. But anyway, I called him up and just told him the truth, and he took it pretty well. He's like, well, I'm happy you told me the truth because now I can work with it. And we kind of were like, he's like, all right, well, look, I'm not ready to go full blown web development stuff, but you just build this and this. Like you stay within, you're really good at certain things, understand your project. So we actually kind of like refigured out a work plan now that makes sense. And if I didn't, I would have just been avoiding this. Like, I think what happens is if I had avoided this situation, it would have just slowly drained my energy the whole day, and I wouldn't have been able to go ahead and move the needle. Yeah, I wouldn't be able to move the needle forward.
Worse for you, worse for him. Yeah, definitely. I've made that mistake before. Definitely.
Now I've come to the point where sometimes someone will call me up like, yo, build websites, right? Like, and I'm like, yeah.
Local Miami accent.
What are you looking to do? And they're just like, they have no idea what they're talking about. I don't like their communication style. Yeah. I've gotten much better at telling people within like 1 to 2 minutes, like this probably isn't the best match kind of thing, and just
Right.
or else you just waste time. And then what happens is if I leave, I think when I have stuff that's undone, which is probably the reason for my increase in productivity recently, is I had some other projects and obligations. I was helping this one company out in PA that I know. I was making some phone calls and talking to some, helping grow this business in a sense. And it just didn't fit into my schedule. I just couldn't get the energy to do it. And because I couldn't do it, it was like, it was taking my energy away when I was doing something else. So I cut that tie off. I think it's really important to always I always try to reevaluate where I am, where I'm going, and if something's holding me back, and then just cutting those ties and just being honest with people. You know, people might not like what you say when you're honest and when you tell them the truth, but they'll come to respect you later on for that, rather than doing them a disservice.
Right.
It's like it's like a temporary disservice for the better, where the other one is like you don't give them the disservice up front, and then you really disappoint later on.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's tough. It's tough, you know, because a lot of entrepreneurs, you know, it's second nature to want to help, to always say, yeah, I know how to do it. Even if you have no idea how to do it, it's like, yeah, I know. And then I'll just learn. I'll learn, you know, and then you just get mired in this giant project. You have no idea how to do it. It just gets delayed. You're like, yep, I'm on it. And then, yeah, it just ends up bad. And then you might ruin a relationship, you know, especially like if you're working with somebody, you know them outside of a business relationship, you know, it just ruins everything. And so, I've definitely worked over the past couple of years to fix it. I'm not completely out of there yet, but I'm trying to focus.
No, you said you've made it a big priority in terms of getting rid of certain clients that are tying up too much of your time and resources, so that you can start something new or work on something else that's of importance.
Right. And I've succeeded a little bit, but it's tougher than I was thinking, you know, getting out, because after more than 10 years doing it, you know, people know you as a web development guy. So I still have projects coming at me, and I always want to say yes, you know, because of the money or because I want to help out or whatever, you know, and it's tough to say no and to focus on the core things that you want to get accomplished. So this year, that's one of the things I'm focusing on, and I'm definitely not out of the field yet, but by the end of the year, that's the goal.
Hey man, it'll be here soon, and I think it's good that you take another thing. I think a lot of people, when they have an idea, I think they give themselves false expectations in terms of time frames. And I think you probably didn't even recognize it right there, but you were just like, oh, towards the end of the year, like you've given yourself a 12-month window. Where I think a lot of people, whenever they're doing, whether it's dwindling down a business or starting a new project or doing something else, they're always like, oh yeah, like I can do that in like 3 weeks. You know, like they always give these false time expectations.
Well, I did that though. I did that and it didn't work out. Like I thought it would be much shorter than this when I made the decision in December, let's say. I thought it'd be like a couple months or 3 months, you know, and here we are. It's almost May, and so like it didn't work out. So now I know, okay, let's stretch it out. Let's be more realistic.
Exactly. Yeah. When I first started my my web-based business, or the initial one, I was like, this is going to take me 3 to 4 months. I'll just have this knocked out. Like I did all my studying. I went through all the courses, read all the books, went to some seminars. You know, I understood it conceptually, but now it was time to, and then, like 18 months later, it was done. Or for the most part, version 1.0 was done, we could say, because it still needs to get a little bit, I still have to improve a few things and clean up some stuff. And I was like, oh yeah, you know, project number 2 is going to take me 6 months. And I'm probably in month 11 right now. And it's just like, all right. I get it.
Always underestimate.
Yeah. So it's like, okay, now what I'm working on, I think what helps too in terms of long-term thinking is that I'm willing to put in 5 years plus 5 to 7 years on a specific business model without giving myself false expectations. Like a lot of people are just searching for that quick business model or that quick opportunity in life where they can, you know, make money in 3 months or 4 months. And I think if you're not willing to, once you understand the maturity and the time frame that it takes for things, so that's been a lesson that I've definitely learned experientially.
Yeah.
On that note, I think we're keeping this show short today. We're just we're at 35. Anything else you want to say so we can we want to tell our listeners? Just checking my notes here.
Yeah, I just wanted to plug the hard drive.
Oh, the hard drives. Okay, we can talk about this a little bit.
You've got yours too. Show yours.
Wait, you have rugged. You got the rugged case.
Yeah, I got it. So like it actually opens up.
Let's give it some context though, because it was Scott and I. Go ahead.
This is a drive. We just found out that we both use the same hard drive, and it's a Western Digital 2.5 inch 2 terabyte hard drive, and it's really compact, fast USB 3.0. And the reason why I love it, I actually took this thing all throughout Africa, and saved my ass a few times, and I really like it because not only just because of the travel aspect, but because I use a desktop, which I'm on right now, and then I also use a laptop, and I always switch between the two because I might be home for a week and I like to sit down and be at my big screen, and then I'll take my laptop on the road for a week, and so I'd always be transferring files back and forth or trying these programs that wouldn't really work as well as I wanted them to. So now what I do is I just keep all of my work files on this hard drive. And I just unplug it from my desktop. I take it with my laptop, and it's so much easier. Yeah. I also have those files backed up in another hard drive. Of course, I do that on the regular just to be safe, because you don't want to lose that hard drive. Leave it at the airport or something like that. But I love it, and I know you said that you've been loving yours too. So
I made an extensive. We can actually link that up. I made an extensive 12-minute video about how I manage my digital life. Because I think a lot of people who are wanting to be more digital based or travel more or have more mobility and flexibility in their life. I have a 13-inch MacBook Pro laptop. I have no files whatsoever saved on the actual hard drive in the computer. And
I didn't know you had no hard drive or no files.
For a few reasons, yeah. So this is a 2 terabyte here. I got about 1.2, 1.3 terabytes full of content, which I manage it's pretty much, it's kind of, well, I guess people that don't know all the stuff, but all the various different businesses, the videos, the content, my prior real estate business, all of my tax returns, everything literally is in this thing. So I can literally put my business in my pocket. The reason I don't save anything on the computer is that, first of all, computers just break. They're prone to unfortunate events such as theft, water damage, etc. So what I do is I have a repeating Google Calendar reminder every month. I go ahead and I back this up onto another guy. So I have, and then I keep this. It's on the floor, but I have this is my props I was going to show you earlier. I have this a little fireproof safe.
Oh, cool.
So you can pick those safes up from Amazon, maybe it's $20-$40. So I keep my backup in there because my whole theory is this, you're out one day, life's all dandy. You come back and your apartment building's on fire, right? Your computer is totally toast.
Always the optimist.
You're a hard drive. I'm like a hardcore optimist and like a hardcore realist at the same time.
Yeah.
Right. But it's nice. I can walk around and just look like an average kid wearing a book bag, but I got my entire business right there. Got my little hard drive. Here's my case. I carried it in. And especially if you're traveling a lot, your laptop can definitely get stolen. And not every thief is going to recognize that these are going to be valuable to them, because they don't really, most physical thieves aren't data thieves, and most data thieves aren't physical thieves. Interesting insight. I never even said that before, but I didn't think it makes sense. So, and plus I have it backed up. It's kind of like if someone came into my house, took my computer, snapped it in half over their knee, I would just be like, yeah, that sucks. But my information is easily worth 100 times more than the cost of my computer. So
I had a thing where I was on a road trip, and I was packing up my car. I was in Dallas at my aunt's house. I was packing up my car. For some reason, I put my laptop on the back bumper of my car, shut the window, and I started driving. And 45 minutes later, at the gas station, I was like, "Oh my God, my laptop!" I drove back. It was gone, and I looked around for a while. I made a police report, and they're like, "Yeah, good luck getting that back." It just fell off in the middle of the street, right? So I drove for 12 hours up till Nashville, feeling like crap the whole time, because because of the physical laptop, because of all the info in it. And I'd been working for two something months on the road, and all that stuff was gone. And at the time, I didn't have an online backup provider either. And so luckily, when I got into Nashville, I got a call from my aunt, and she said our neighbor across the street found it and returned it. And I was like, oh, wow. And of course, I changed how I did things a little bit after that. I have no more stuff on the roof, no more stuff on the bumper. Use online backup, use external backup,
Yeah.
Oh, and put your name on the underside of the laptop, tape a thing with your name and phone number, reward found, whatever. Yeah. Because I didn't even have that.
Yeah. Because easily too, if a thief steals your thing and they're like, oh, reward, they might make more money getting your. And if someone steals my computer, I'll gladly pay them 3 times the face value for it, But I guess
I don't know if I could go that but I would pay them money.
Depends on their info. On your info. Yeah, I had a friend. Unfortunate, he was robbed and he got his laptop stolen. And on there, he's like, man, I've made things in Photoshop that have taken me 30 hours. You know, and that's just one file. Think about how many different Photoshop files I have. Like Keynote, I have like PowerPoint Keynote presentations that I've written scripts that you spend hundreds of hours on this stuff. So I think. As we reach more and more the digital age, managing digital life, I think, is an area that's really, it's uncharted territory. People really don't know how to, I even gotta, like, if something happens to me, I'm like, I need to give someone like a little, like, they're gonna come to my house and be like, okay, there's nothing going on in Matt's life, but they're like, all these transactions and things are taking place, but they don't know how to like log in anywhere and manage it. So anyway, topic for another time. But yeah, I think it's really important to, and it's, it was actually funny because a few days ago I had a bunch of stuff on my desktop that I just kind of put it there temporarily. And I was like, this is a bad habit. So I spent the whole like morning just taking everything on my desktop, copying it over to my hard drive. And now, like, when I go to my computer and look at my desktop, there's 2 things on there right now that I have to do after this call. But then it's like, it's wiped. I don't see anything on my desktop. It's quite, it definitely helps me focus on certain things. So digital organization is a huge factor. So. Good stuff. Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. And you have, like, I have a kind of, it's a little hard, but it's still a little soft. You have like a rugged case that can handle water and you can drop it and.
Yeah. And I'm not even usually like that worried about it. I really got it just
Where
for
do you
Africa
keep your cable? You just put the cable in something? Because I know the cable doesn't fit inside with those.
The cable doesn't fit inside, which is kind of stupid. But I got that just for Africa. I didn't know what I was going to expect. And honestly, I could have done without it for Africa. Some other people I was with didn't even have the case around it. But most of the things that are going to happen to it are not from physical damage. You're not going to be dropping this from a 4-story building. What's going to happen is it's either going to get corrupted. Sometimes hard drives do. There's a very small chance, but the data can get corrupted, or you lose it, or it gets stolen. Like, those are the big things.
Have you heard this? Yeah. No, that's it's a good point. It's like, yeah, you might think you're okay until you get screwed, and then you're screwed really bad. Yeah. But have you heard the statistics on hard drive failures?
No.
100% of hard drives fail.
That's true.
It's not a matter of if; it's literally a matter of when. So
it's like 100% of people die. Yeah.
This is that. It's the same. It's the same level of thinking. So, like, not only is it good to keep your information here, but like depending on your usage, every 2 to 4 or 5 years, you want to go ahead, transfer these to new, more modern, updated hard drives, wipe these out and sell them on eBay. Like, you got to always kind of be progressing in a sense, or else they're just going to become, you don't want to be running really outdated stuff. It's just more prone to breaking. So yeah, because I had
failed hard drives. It sucks.
I had one too, and I got it recovered, and I lost a few files, but I got most of it recovered. And when I was calling around to some data companies, they're like, yeah, that was where I learned 100% of hard drives fail. And here's what this guy said. He's like, if you have one hard drive and then you have a backup, that's not a backup. That's a copy. If you have a third one, he's like, that's a backup. I was like, oh, okay. So that's for those who want to go real, real hardcore.
And that's why I use online backup too.
Yeah. Most people don't even have an external hard drive. They're just saving everything on their machine, which is okay. But if you want to travel and things of that sort, it's nice to be,
I wouldn't say it's okay. I've got clients that do that, and like at the very minimum, have another hard drive, or take it home with you, and different location.
Especially anyone doing anything online, which is just more and more people entering the digital space every day. Or take this, you're in Africa, you get held up at gunpoint. You're like, I'll save the day. You just give them your laptop, they go off. Everyone's like, oh, you're like, don't worry, I got it. For $1,200, I just saved 5 lives. That's worth it. That's definitely worth it. So, good tip on the hard drive. I'll link up to the video if anyone finds it helpful. I go into more details. We'll link up to the cases and stuff that we use because you're like me. We probably spend a lot of time researching all of this crap, and then that you have something, we know that it's pretty good, so we can.
Yeah, let us do the research and testing, so you don't have to.
Exactly. I'm good on mine in terms of notes. We'll save stuff next. I think we have another show coming up, which will probably launch maybe a week or two after this.
We've got the interview.
We got an interview coming up with
Meredith Luggage.
Warren Talbot, cool dude, real cool dude. So that was a fun show.
Well, maybe a couple of weeks after that, before I head off to Iceland. Of course, I'm traveling again, right? We'll record another show.
Definitely, definitely. So, hey, thanks for tuning in. We'll chat with you soon, Scott.
All right.
All right,
See
man.
ya.
Later.